Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for having me. Indeed, a very interesting day for Asimo. We're 4 years old. It's the first time that we ever had to suspend our operations. I'll be doing a demo later today, during this presentation. I really wanted to do a live demo. Live demos are a little bit more stressful, but more fun. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to do it as we have suspended operations for today. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be back up. I guess the thing that we wanted to avoid is gambling with people's money, and as we're catering for economic migrants, the safety of the process of delivering money in time and how promised has been something that was most important for us. But let's talk about fintech for good and how the use of technology can allow us not only to build businesses that are successful, that have strong unit economics, that are interesting for investors, that are interesting for the early adopters, but how can we use technology to build businesses that change the world? I'd like to start with this. Tech is just a tool. What matters is what you do with it. I think it's fantastic that we got together today thanks to Wired and we talk about technology. I want to look at what it enables us to do, which is also why I'm so excited that I've seen all these fantastic presentations from different people who are using technology to ultimately do something that matters. So I'd like to tell you about the world in which I operate day to day. There's 1 billion people in the world who send or receive remittances. It is truly the whole hidden economy, and a very cute quote from IFAD, which is a UN agency, that is dollars wrapped with care. These 1 billion people, a quarter of them are migrants. There are 250 million migrants in the world, including myself. Now, the total of the whole industry, it's $600 billion is being sent in remittances in 2016. It's been growing 6 to 8% year on year. Again, something very few of us actually think about day to day, how big the opportunity is. And now it is so big that it's actually 3 times the total volume of the total global international aid. And when you think about it, it's not only generous people donating to institutions that then pass this money on, it's people sending money to a particular person in need. And I really see that at Asimo as over 70% of all of our transactions are actually for family support, which is something for us is a very strong indicator that we are really in the remittance space. Remittance is understood as money sent from the developed to the developing world. Now, this is the really interesting bit. 90% of all those transactions are still taking place offline. How come, you might think? Well, we all now have access to the internet. When you think about the whole opportunity, the whole of the world, the whole of the ways in which people have been traditionally sending money, they're still very much doing it like their mothers or fathers or neighbors do. And there is a lot of inertia. It's not very easy to tell somebody, hey, there are these guys who are really cheap and really good and really fast. You should use them. Yes, you should, but it's scary. So there are all these ways in which we're trying to get to those people that are still doing it offline. It's not about us chasing our competition in the online space. It's about really going after the offline guys and making a difference for them. And this is the key bit. 2.6 billion people that don't have access to a bank account. That's 2.6 billion adults. And this is why it's so important. I'm very happy that it was mentioned already that we don't only send money to bank accounts, but we send money to cash, mobile top-up, mobile wallets, such as M-Pesa in Kenya, or even home delivery in some countries. Now, 90% of all transactions being sent offline, that's crazy, right? By 2020, there will be over 6 billion smartphones. There are already over 2 billion, and the majority of this growth is going to come from the emerging markets. This is the beauty of technology. This is when the fact that everybody has this little thing in their pocket is dramatically changing the way we live. And this technology is moving much faster than the banking systems can, or that Western Union can, which I guess is the ultimate way for us to start building a better solution for those customers. So very briefly, just so sort of we know what we're talking about, where did we start in the remittance businesses? We have the offline guys, the brick and mortar, the branch model, the companies such as MoneyGram, where you still go and the only way is to hand over cash and tell them to send money somewhere else. We look at the hybrid model, where Western Union is very much still offline, very high cost for the customer. They're trying to do it in the online, but their business is built for offline. Online is just a shop window, rather than the way they're truly processing transactions, and their ability to lower the cost for the customer is also very, very limited. Then we look at the digital guys, such as Zoom, very exciting event from last year, acquired by almost $1 billion by PayPal. So it's already online, mainly sending money to bank deposit, already lower exceptions than in the offline world, and very often specific corridors. So Zoom, for instance, they're only in the US, and they were basically sending to 6 countries around the world. And now what do we believe is the future, the digital 2.0? I can't really see it very well. What does it mean? It's online, it's on your Android phone, it's on your Apple phone. It has a wallet functionality. It's got a global reach, sending money from anywhere to everywhere. It allows you to be carried through the transaction in a conversational style app, or even maybe you're speaking to a bot. It's using machine learning. It is paying out in any possible way people can store monetary value. It's fully integrated in your social media. Makes perfect sense. I'm Polish. My relationship with my mom is basically looking like this. I'm staring at a phone, and so is she. So it's putting the flow of funds where the flow of information already is. And in my case, it's often, Facebook, or actually, it's pretty cool. She's 66, and she very much likes her Facebook and her FaceTime, which I guess is pretty good. And blockchain, where there's all the talk around blockchain. To us, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but for us, it's blockchain on settlement side, not on the payout side. But that's ultimately for us, digital 2.0 in the money transfer industry. So effectively, we're going from the old world, average cost 9 to 10%, 500,000 branches globally that Western Union have, employing 1.5 up to 2 million people. It's 150 years old. And actually, even though very many people think that they have the majority of the market, it's only 16% of the global market. What is the money transfer now? Average cost between 0.5 to 2%. We have 2 offices in London and Krakow. We employ only 90 people. We already have almost 1 million people connected to the platform. We're less than 4 years old. And what I think is really important to put on that slide, our customers are truly sometimes not your usual phone or online user. I think we underestimate people's ability to migrate onto online solution. So that's Azimo. We believe we can reach 5 billion people internationally through our direct-to-bank and cash payout services. We pay out to over 250,000 locations. We service 80 currencies. We pay out in 6 different ways. We pay in very different ways. What is important is that we don't take cash. But basically everything else we can take. We operate in 24 countries in Europe. We send money basically everywhere in the world. We're the largest digital-only player, and that makes me really, really proud. So, how does it work? You think about the branch model, the traditional model. There was this whole pie that everybody wanted a piece of. There's an agent, a master agent, and a regional agent, and the whole model is built around all those different offices that need a piece of that pie. At Azimo, we charge between 0.5% and 2%. Our cost is effectively how much it costs to charge a debit card and how much we need to pay to the partner bank, say in the Philippines, where we're working with the largest bank in the Philippines, so that they can allow payout in cash in a branch. Everything else is done by the customer. That allows us to operate in a way where our unit economics are strong, but we're making very little money on a single transaction. We're confident in our products, and we know that our customers are going to come back to us over and over again, on average 10 to 12 times a year, and they'll come back to us over the years. So we've built a model where we can keep our prices low. It's really interesting. I was speaking to a very nice gentleman today. He told me in interviews with fintech people, he never hears about lifetime value. Now, I don't really understand how that can be, because ultimately it's all about building products for life. And it very much changes the way that we run our business, and it very much changes the way our customers use Azimo. So it used to be fairly complicated. Actually, the whole process is quite complicated. Anything from foreign exchange, well, today is a very good day to talk about this, to how you do all the funding and the reconciliations and the reporting and risk and compliance. And I wanted to quickly look at risk and compliance, where I think there is a lot of fantastic things we can do that the offline guys could never do. In the branch model, you'd have a guy coming in with cash that you don't know where it's coming from. He'd show you a passport. which most cases would be fine, but could also be forged. Then you have hundreds of thousands of people working in those branches. Can they really tell? Are they properly trained to be able to tell if that document is fine? The same customer can go to very many different locations, or maybe every day they would be sending or maybe every month they would be sending £300 to, say, Poland, but then one day they would come in with £10,000 to Nigeria. Now, you wouldn't really be able to tell that it's the same customer and that this is suspicious because you don't have all the data about that customer. Now, what can you do when you put elements of machine learning and automation into risk and compliance? And basically what we've built is a bespoke platform when we're collecting many different data points. And it's anything from your device ID. So we know whether on the same device different transactions have been made and how many, where you are in terms of your IP and whether this has been changing. We know whether you have copied and pasted your card details to pay for a transaction or whether you've actually typed that in. And this is the bit that is super important because if you're a fraudster, you're probably copying and pasting off a spreadsheet hoping that one is going to work. This is also something that we look at. We look at how old you are. If you're very old, we will actually go as far as call you and ask you if it was you registering because we have a suspicion that maybe somebody called you and told you, hey, I'm Microsoft, I'm going to give you a refund. We scan all documents, which means that there is actually an algorithm that is checking if a document hasn't been changed in Photoshop because we think that actually, in this case, machines can work better than the naked eye. And we even can, based on those rules that we create, looking at different patterns of your behavior, looking at the fact that you're normally sending £300 to Poland and now you're trying to send much more to a very different country, that 5 hours ago you were in Ibiza and now you are in Germany. So maybe we're going to be a little bit more cautious. Maybe you've been traveling, but if 2 hours later your IP is in Bangalore, now that's a little bit weird. We can also, something that's super important in our business, 3D Secure, how do we make sure that there is a liability shift, that we check carefully with the bank whether we can take money from the customer. Based on those risk profiles, we can decide to do 3D Secure or not. If you are a well-known customer, if we've seen you using money, sending money very many times, if we know that it's consistently sort of same device, similar IPs, we can choose not to do 3D Secure and it's still not risky, neither for the customer nor for us. And all these checks can happen in under 30 seconds. So I'd like to do a quick demo today just to show you what the process of sending money looks like. As I said, I was hoping to do it live. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. So that's just me sending money to myself yesterday because I'm going to a wedding to Poland and I'm very much worried that should the pound devalue by 15% due to certain events, I need my PLN in my Polish account. So I was sending it to myself yesterday. This is just the transaction flow. Choosing to send money to myself. It's going to show me the rate, which, trust me, is infinitely better. It's probably, compared to Western Union, we're 5 to 8 times cheaper. My card is already added to the Asmo account. I'm fiddling with this little pink thing, which I think is quite fun. And basically, this is, the following 30 seconds is going to be when all these checks that I mentioned are taking place. It's us connecting to your bank, it's us checking whether the information that your bank has about you and the information that we have about you are the same. It's us checking in what place you were. It's us checking how many beneficiaries you have, because sometimes if you have too many, that's a little bit odd. Are you trying to maybe send money to very many different places in the world and many different people in the world? And we know that if you're sending money for family support, that would be quite suspicious. And that's money sent. That's 1 minute and 17 seconds of sending money. I believe a process that is very safe, very secure, and ultimately much easier than what going to a branch would be in the old days. As I believe I'm running out of time, what I think is the future. I think these babies are incredibly powerful, and it's just a matter of what we put on them. A smartphone is going to have all necessary financial instruments that we need. The experience is going to be much, much more personalized. We talk about custom content. We talk about conversational experiences. We're talking about We're talking about artificial intelligence, things that we're now building and testing out. So hopefully if I see you again, I'm going to have more to show. Machine learning fully deployed in compliance, risk management, and fraud screening. I think it's super important. It's not only our protection, it's also the protection of somebody. If somebody is being defrauded, then we've had, especially at the very early age of Asimo, we had a couple of calls from a 90-year-old granny who said, oh, but somebody told me I'm going to get a refund, and they just, like, all of my money vanished from my account because he was such a nice man and I gave you all my credit card details. Nobody wants to receive calls like that. Bots, I very much believe in the power of bots. If we want to scale this thing, we need to be able to scale everything, operations, customer service. We want to make sure that the customer is still going to have a good experience, and I don't want to scale by people. I want to scale about technology. This is the bit that is really exciting. I've mentioned blockchain on settlements, instantaneous settling currencies, as well as blockchain resolving the issue of reconciliations, another very costly thing that takes a lot of time. If we don't need to do that, then we can probably lower the cost for the customer even more. And ultimately, I think we're going to get to a point when all payments are going to be instant and peer-to-peer, and the cost is going to really be minimum. And ultimately, what this leads us to is changing the world by driving economic development and increasing financial inclusion for this billion people that I mentioned earlier. So that's us, that's Asimo, the better way to send money, touching millions of people's lives. Thank you very much.
Marta, not many commercial businesses would essentially shut down during a busy day. Mm-hmm. It sounds like purpose is at the heart of what you do. How much do you see your mission, your social mission, as one of the drivers to the growth that you've had so far?
I'll give you an example that I found really heartwarming today. We messaged all of our customers saying, hey guys, we're really sorry, we're shutting down for 24, 36 hours. This is why. We pushed it all over social media, and we started getting messages from customers. Oh, Asimo, I hope you're fine. Maybe I'm in Germany. I know some good people. Call me. Maybe I can help you. We can move Asimo to Germany. It's very rare that you get customers who are such great evangelists for what you do. I think ultimately, and I don't want to make it sound too cheesy, but everybody says that it's important when you're an entrepreneur to resolving a problem that you yourself had. I had that problem since I was 18. How do I send money back to my mom? I work with people who have that problem. 77% of our staff in London are not born in Britain. Wow. Very many of us send money back home. We have two offices, as I said, London and Krakow. Actually, in the one in Krakow, 35% are not Polish. So clearly, migrants want to be part of this because it's a big problem. It's not something that people necessarily talk about. And maybe, from a tech perspective, there are businesses that have, bigger reach, they're sexier. There is, always the, I'm a founder of a money transfer business. And, TransferWise. And, and I'm super proud of TransferWise. I think they're doing a fantastic thing, but I think they're solving a very different problem. For us, it's really about those guys that would potentially, if it was only down to the incumbents, would be underserved for years and years and years to come, just because they can charge that much, and just because people would still carry on using them. I think it definitely drives us. It makes us work 15-hour days or 18-hour days. It makes our customers want to tell their friends about us. And ultimately, I think, again, slightly cheesy, but changing the world and building businesses that matter, it's not only about changing it for, sort of making the money and sort of changing it for the customers, also changing it for ourselves, coming to work and feeling that we're doing something that has purpose. I can only be extremely proud that we managed to find something that sort of very much represents me as a person and my fantastic, fantastic team, and also is resolving a massive issue that has not been discussed enough.
So we actually did a cover story for Wired last month about purpose-driven companies, a whole bunch of them, and the headline was Build Something Meaningful. One last question. You mentioned a couple of times bots. Mm-hmm. I don't think everybody here will necessarily be familiar with what bots are. So very briefly, explain how you understand bots and why you think they're going to be significant.
So, spoiler alert, we're working on a Facebook Messenger bot. So you would be able to just speak to Asmo and say, hey, what's the rate today? I want to send money to Nigeria. And they tell you how much it is.
So it's not a robot, it's a small piece of software that can humanize a conversation.
It can read language, and the interface feels human. However, it's not a human, because, hey, if it was a human, then we have to pay their salaries, and if there are enough of them, then the whole operating model becomes a little bit more complicated. It is also a way in which to build apps. So our app is half conversational. The onboarding is conversational, and the transfer flow isn't. But we want to get literally to a point where the experience is going to be a little bit like going to a branch. Hi, where would you like to send money to? Nigeria. Oh, and how much? 300. And to what person? To mum. And it would look up mum on your contact list.
So the algorithm gets better and better according to the test data from real people, and it learns how to communicate.
That's the future.
Is the bot economy ever going to replace the app economy?
I don't think it's about replacing, the same way that I don't think cash is truly going to go completely in the next 20, 30 years. I think there's definitely a lot of room for the bot economy. I think it can overtake the app economy. It's a matter of when.
You heard it here first. Thank you, Marta.
Thank you so much. Thank you.